Hello and welcome back to our series where we're talking to speakers who will be at Index San Francisco, February 20th to the 22nd at Moscone West. Today, joining me is Amara Keller of IBM. Welcome, Amara.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, so you'll be speaking at Index San Francisco, and your session is called Up Your Experiences with Unity and Watson. So I assume that that's kind of along the lines of what you've been working on lately. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you've been working on?
Yeah, definitely. This is actually perfect timing for this call because I'm sitting and getting ready to do a lunch and learn today on using Watson in the Unity gaming platform. So perfect timing for this. But what we're trying to do is make sure that developers on a variety of different platforms and programming languages have access to using the Watson APIs. So Unity in particular has a SDK that's maintained. We're doing a number of different updates to it pretty regularly. But what we want to make sure is that the Unity community has what they need to use the Watson Unity SDK. So that includes doing things like lunch and learns, going out to different conferences and talking about how you would use the Watson services with Unity. And the example that I'm going to show should be, hopefully it's a good one, but it should be using Watson Conversation, speech to text, and text to speech to do some sort of experience in AR. So definitely show up if you're a beginner. There's no experience necessary. And of course, Unity is not just a gaming platform. So even if you're working in the enterprise, it would be a good session to go to just to see how you could potentially incorporate Unity and Watson into your portfolio or your solutions.
Excellent. Well, and you're a developer advocate with IBM, so you're interacting with developers on a daily basis. And so I wanted to ask, what are some of the biggest priorities that you're seeing among developers today, especially heading into 2018 right now?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the developers here in San Francisco are really looking to learn new skills and really understand, what are the latest, greatest things going on. So we've done a number of different sessions on blockchain, and in particular, blockchain for developers, which I think is really important to distinguish between, more of like the business enthusiast folks. We also have a number of people who are just saying, I'm looking to get my hands on a bunch of different APIs to see what kind of solutions I can build. So a lot of people coming with general interest, show me what that API does. And of course, a ton of interest still in open source. So open source is definitely still winning, whether you're enterprise, startup, or somewhere in between. So a lot of folks coming and saying, how do we pull all these pieces together? I have, this database and I want to run this front-end framework and I want to use these APIs. How do you do it? And then for us, how do you do it on our IBM cloud?
That's great. So skill up, learn blockchain, learn open source. I mean, that, you're basically creating a roadmap for future developers out there. That's some great advice. Excellent. So, there's also, in addition to some of these priorities, also challenges that developers are facing, some common challenges. What are you seeing as those, what are those common challenges that you're seeing, and what are some of the ways that you're working to address them with developers?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that we see at most of the sessions that we do, so most of the workshops, the meetups, the lunch and learns that we do with our community here in San Francisco, they're really trying to understand what differentiates one cloud from the next cloud. And that could also include the services that are on those clouds as well. So someone's visual recognition tool might be better for their use case than others. They're really trying to find that information out, and they want the developer angle, not the marketing pitch. It's not like, oh, this is the fastest or this is the best. So what we're trying to do is make sure that our developer community understands with IBM Cloud, what can you use this for today? What are the most used examples in this space? And where are the limitations? Because there are limitations, and we are still working on some of the features. I just did a workshop with Watson Conversation where we were building chatbots. And I made it very clear that we have languages that we support, we have languages that are in beta, and then we have languages that are not yet on our roadmap. And people were very excited to hear, you're very transparent about this. Like, I'm really interested in working with this language. I see that it's in beta. How good is that beta? And I really like those kind of conversations because it makes me feel like I can bring that feedback back to the team and say, hey, we had someone using a beta language. It worked really well. Or, hey, there was some challenges here. It kicks off really good dialogue that I think helps me as a developer advocate have that feedback loop of here's what's happening in the community. Here's what they're looking for. Here's what our internal folks are looking for, what our roadmap looks like, and make sure that everybody's kind of in sync in what's going on. And I think
Right.
that's incredibly important to kind of address some of those challenges.
I agree, absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier was around community. Your work with the Unity community, which is phenomenally fun to say. But you're also somewhat new to IBM, correct? You've been with IBM about a year. So
about 6 months actually. So it's shorter than that. Yeah.
So and you've started to dig into some of these communities and get your hands dirty with a lot of the communities that IBM's involved in. So I wanted to ask about your experience with that. What's your experience been in getting involved in these communities and starting to contribute and give back, consume the code, and all that?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the work that I've been doing has actually been enabling beginners because I myself am a beginner, particularly when it's on and around the IBM cloud. And I think a lot of the other folks that I work with, the other developer advocates, tend to forget what it's like to be a beginner. And I think it's really important to recognize what those individuals need because everyone starts as a beginner, particularly when you have a new service or a new offering on a platform. Nobody's going to come into it with this like genius knowledge of I can just make this work. They might come in with some experience, but I think, using the Unity community as an example as well, that platform is known for people who want to build some sort of gaming experience on the nights and weekends. They may not do it in their day job. They might just be, interested in making something cool. So their documentation is focused, laser focused on that group. It's very, very self-explanatory work. And actually I was just tweeting about how great I thought their documentation was. But I'm noticing that in other communities as well. If you enable your beginners, you are setting them up for success and you're kind of paving their way forward, which I think is really important. And then obviously as your community or your offering matures, you want to make sure that you have the intermediate and advanced content available as well. But really getting out there and supporting those beginners because, they could be like me. I have experience in other places or in other clouds or in other programming languages, but maybe not the one that I'm coming into now. I really need that beginner content to get up and running and be successful.
Excellent. Well, I know you touched on it a little bit when we first started talking, but give me the elevator pitch for your speaker session at Index. I mean, this is going to be an event that is for developer communities, by developer communities, and we're really looking forward to seeing your session. So give us just your 30-second to a minute pitch for why people should come check out your session.
Yeah, definitely. So Unity is, pitched as a gaming platform, but it's broadening its scope and, they're enabling it too. So they've introduced machine learning agents to really target the visualization and simulation community within deep learning and machine learning. So they're really trying to open up the platform to a wide variety of folks. We want to make sure that you understand how to work with Watson, whether it's in a video game like the Star Trek VR experience, or something more enterprise based. We're really excited to see what people are building, and I want to make sure, again, like I was just saying, that our beginners and our folks that are kind of new to Watson, new to Unity, which I expect is a number of people, really kind of understand the fundamentals of how to get up and running. So we will go over, the Unity editor in depth, kind of step through it to make it a little bit friendlier of an experience because it's kind of a lot. There's a lot going on the screen when you open it. But also how to incorporate Watson and how to start hitting those services and start getting responses back. And yeah, that's probably not the best elevator pitch, but that's the best one that I have today. So again, no experience necessary. You can come, not knowing how to use Watson. You can come not knowing how to use Unity. Just, bring some inspirational ideas where you think, can I pull these two together? And hopefully as we talk through the session, I start connecting those dots for you.
That's great. Yeah. Well, beginners welcome. You heard it here. Amara, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk with me today. We're definitely looking forward to checking out your session at Index San Francisco. That's February 20th to the 22nd. I'll include links throughout the video for people to register and get 20% off codes and things like that. Or you can visit developer.ibm.com/indexconf for more information. Amara, thank you again.
Kevin, thank you.